So above this, it's called a equatorial orbit. Then inclined, the other orbits referred to as inclined orbits. Okay, so there are three classifications: polar orbits, inclined orbits, equatorial orbits. These are all you have it in the above the around the Earth. Okay, so the path, what is meant by the orbital? How it is classified? The path a satellite follows around a planet is defined as an orbit. What is meant by orbit? Okay, there is a path the satellite follows around a planet is defined as an orbit. So satellite orbits are classified into two broad categories. One is non-geostationary and geostationary orbit. So the first one is non-geostationary orbit. We call it as the polar orbit, equatorial orbit, and inclined orbit. So the polar orbit is, in polar orbit, the satellite moves from pole to pole and the inclination is equal to 90 degrees. So you look at this, this is equator. So it is in a 90 degree. Okay, that is called the polar orbit. Equatorial orbit. In equatorial orbit, the orbital plane lies in the equatorial plane equator of the Earth and inclination is 0 or very small. So what is meant by polar orbit? What is meant by equatorial? What is meant by inclined? All orbits other than the polar orbit or equatorial orbit are called inclined. So 90 degrees is polar, 0 is equatorial, other than that is inclined. Okay, this is the orbital pattern. So these three we call it as a non-geostationary orbit. That is orbit around Earth in different plane. We call it as a non-geostationary orbits. The next one, orbital height. That is based on the height. Height is nothing but here. That is altitude of satellite. So based on this, it is classified 4. These 4 I have given in the diagram. This is called a geostationary orbits. Okay. Now you have a Earth at the center. Then there are 4. It is classified into 4. One is LEO. This is low Earth orbit. This allows intra-satellite switched connections, require small satellites. This one. Okay. Now I have given from Earth where it is located. What is the distance between low Earth orbit to, that is 500 to 2000 kilometers above the Earth. The next one, geometric Earth orbit, Inmarsat. So the distance between Earth to GEO is 35,768 kilometers above the Earth. Then medium Earth orbit is, from the Earth, the distance is 8,000 to 20,000 kilometers. Who's making noise? What's your doubt? Some noise is coming. Okay. Then low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, high Earth orbit. So this is lies between high Earth or elliptical also you can have it. The green's elliptical, this one. Okay. Then you have a inner and outer Van Allen belts. So this, to detect this, the US launched a satellite. It's Explorer 1. Van Allen belts, ionized particle. This is the distance between Earth and this is 2,000 to 6,000 kilometers and 15,000 to 30,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface. So this is called geostationary orbits. Okay, so it has, depending upon the altitude, geostationary, Earth orbit, high Earth orbit or elliptical orbit, medium Earth orbit, low Earth orbit. So everything I have shown it in the diagram. At the same time, the distance between Earth and the orbit is also specified. So this is also very, very important for MCQs. So you must know what is the distance between Earth and the distance between Earth to other orbits. Then orbit basics. Satellites in circular orbits. So this is the important terms we must know for knowing the orbits. Okay, satellites in circular orbits. That is attractive force. Fg is equal to mg, capital R divided by small r. This is calculating the force square. Centrifugal force Fc is equal to mr omega square. M is mass of the satellite. Capital R is radius of the Earth. Okay, if it is placed 6,370 kilometer. R is small r is distance to the center of the Earth. G acceleration of gravity. Omega is angular velocity. F is rotation frequency. So if it is a stable orbit, minus Fg is equal to Fc. Okay, so attractive force is equal to centrifugal force. So small r is calculated cubic root of g, that is radius of the, that is distance to the center of the Earth. So if you calculate this one, we have the formula. So the formula is important. What is Fg? What is Fc? So these are all the formulas you have to remember for writing the MCQs. So square root of g r square divided by 2 pi f the whole squared. So the next term, the inclination. What is meant by inclination? So we have polar orbits, equatorial orbits, and inclination. We know that is it's a 90 degree. Equatorial is 0 or small angle. So inclination orbits. So the inclination is orbit is nothing but angle between orbit and equator. So that is, you have an equatorial plane. The equatorial plane is exactly at the 0. Okay, equator. Now you have some inclination at the center. So you look at that. This is this oval size represents the satellite orbit. So this is small perigee. Okay, so it rotates around the Earth like this. Look at this one. So this is the inclined, that is plan or satellite orbit. How it rotates based on this, the inclination from the equatorial plane. So thus delta we have to calculate it between this range, how it rotates around the Earth. Now, what is meant by elevation? So the elevation is nothing but angle epsilon between the center of satellite beam and surface. So here you have a epsilon. This is satellite center and the surface. Okay, surface is, that is footprint. Whatever you have the footprint, from that to the satellite we have the elevation angle with that epsilon. So minimal elevation is nothing but elevation needed at least to communicate with the satellite. So coverage angle, it's portion of the Earth's surface visible to the satellite. So it must be visible, that is called a coverage angle. So what is meant by inclination? What is meant by elevation? Now, so to calculate the elevation, the footprint. So this is called a satellite footprint. Footprint is nothing but geographic area where communication is possible. So this is the location, geographical locations. You have a satellite. So communication between these two we obtain by use of the angle elevation and by use of this inclination. Okay, we can calculate all these things. So this is the small introduction about each and every term is present in the that is satellite orbits. Okay, what is equatorial orbit, what is polar orbit, what is inclined orbits, then how the altitude of satellites, it's located, everything. So now the next one, so far if you have any doubt,